Coming up on the Nightly Review, hundreds of Minnesota soldiers face a ticking clock for unvaccinated members of the Air National Guard. Minnesota's lieutenant governor says her state may be a safe haven for those seeking abortion, but the rush could be huge. And new info from the state of North Dakota shows no hint of recession in the state, while breaking news comes tonight on the state's fight against the EPA. Hello and welcome to the Nightly Review. I'm Steve Hallstrom in for Tom Tucker. Leading our news tonight, there are just hours remaining in the military careers for some Minnesota National Guard members. Military officials say as many as 600 members could face dismissal from the Minnesota National Guard because they haven't gotten the COVID-19 vaccine. Leadership says it hopes to work with service members who have reservations about the vaccine. Nationally, more than 40,000 Army National Guard soldiers, about 13% of the force, have not been vaccinated. Breaking news this evening, the U.S. Supreme Court has struck a blow to the Environmental Protection Agency because of a petition brought by North Dakota and 19 other states. The court ruled today that the Clean Air Act does not give the EPA broad authority to regulate greenhouse gas emissions from power plants. The decision is a major move in the climate change debate as it limits how the nation's main anti-air pollution law can be used to reduce carbon emissions. Well, Minnesota Lieutenant Governor Tina Smith is warning that states where abortion remains legal have, quote, no capacity to absorb an influx of patients from states where it's been banned. This after the Supreme Court struck down Roe v. Wade. Smith is a former Minnesota Planned Parenthood executive. She told the Washington Post, quote, a ban on abortion in South Dakota or North Dakota or Wisconsin also affects people in Minnesota because there's no capacity to absorb that additional need in one place, end quote. Meanwhile, Target Corporation is joining the ranks of upper Midwest companies who are offering to cover employees' travel costs for employees who want to travel to a more abortion-friendly state. In a memo to employees, Target says it began months ago to consider expanding the existing benefit that covered costs for certain healthcare procedures that aren't available where they live. The company said that includes not only reproductive services, but also mental health, cardiac care, and other services that are out of reach in some communities. Sleep Number, Medtronic, and Wells Fargo have offered similar employee benefits. North Dakota's economy keeps rolling along. Taxable purchases rose 13.2% in the first quarter of 2022, and total sales and purchases were $4.7 billion. The top contributing sectors were mining and the trades. All 15 of the major industry sectors saw increases when compared to the first quarter of last year. The Minnesota Department of Transportation is asking you to be careful and look for work zones this holiday weekend. More than 200 projects are going on across the state, including ones on Highway 200 and Highway 2 in northwestern Minnesota. The DOT reminds you that the fee for speeding in a work zone is $300, so you better watch out for that. Buying a car continues to be an increasingly more expensive idea. WCCO-TV reports that the price of a used car is on average $5,000 more than it was before the pandemic. Several factors have put pressure on rising car prices, most notably the shortage of computer chips. And rental car companies are also trying to save money buying used cars instead of new ones for their fleets. We now know the name of the man who crashed his motorcycle Tuesday evening on I-94 near West Fargo, and he's the mayor of a North Dakota city. The North Dakota Highway Patrol says 36-year-old Brandon Sola was headed westbound near mile marker 341 around 9 p.m. when he lost control of the bike. Sola was thrown from the motorcycle into the center median and died from his injuries at the scene. He was not wearing a helmet. Sola was the chief of police for the Carrington Police Department and a master sergeant with the North Dakota Air National Guard. Grand Farm is revealing the location of its future innovation facility. The organization announced Wednesday that the facility will be located on the southwest corner of exit 328 of I-94, about 2 miles west of Castleton. Grand Farm is an innovator in bringing autonomous vehicles and automation to the ag sector. Grand Farm Director Brian Carroll says the group will work with partners in Castleton to enable technology to feed the world. And finally tonight, if you plan to fly anytime soon, you may want to come up with a plan B. More than 2,000 flights were canceled nationwide yesterday as airlines struggle with a massive pilot shortage. June's total cancellations are expected to challenge the 30,000 flights that were canceled in January. The industry is reeling from early retirements during COVID and widespread firings of staff who refuse to be vaccinated against COVID-19. Well, if you enjoy the Nightly Review and like staying on top of what's happening in the FM Metro and beyond, please take a moment to subscribe and hit the bell button below to make sure that you are always staying up to date. Weather-wise, it's been another sunny day across the valley, but rain will likely be part of our holiday weekend. Here's Chief Meteorologist Dean Wysocki with a forecast from the Skywatch Weather Center.
We're looking at a nice, pleasant overnight tonight with clear skies. We'll drop down to a low in the low 50s, even some scattered upper 40s with light west winds. A nice start to Friday. Partly cloudy skies, west winds 10 to 20, highs in the upper 70s. And the holiday weekend looking okay. The best day Saturday, partly cloudy mid-80s. A chance for storms Saturday night into Sunday with highs on Sunday in the lower 80s. And then a chance for scattered storms on the 4th with highs in the low to mid-80s. Not a total washout. We'll have many dry hours in between.
You can spark hope for others. Now through June 30th, lighten the load of neighbors in crisis with a gift of $10 or more to the Lend a Hand Up Summer Boost campaign. All gifts will be distributed to boost help for local families, and the first 100 donors will receive a gift card to Star Fireworks. Learn more and give to the Summer Boost at lendahandup.org.
Lend a hand, lend a hand up.
Lend a Hand Up is community powered and guided by Dakota Medical Foundation.
My guest for tonight's one-on-one conversation is Dayna Delval. Dayna is the president and CEO of the Arts Partnership, a local nonprofit that promotes the local art scene in Fargo-Moorhead. The industry was devastated by COVID as public gatherings of any kind were discouraged or prevented. Delval says many performers took to Zoom or online performances when COVID hit, but that only scratched the itch for a little while.
And I think people started to feel like, I just cannot sit and watch one more thing through a screen. And so I think we saw a dip, and then things started to come back, and you started to see audiences try to figure that out. And, you know, these variants have been very, very difficult because, well, I think we all know it's very clear we're going to have to live with COVID and its multiple versions. It's still, there's a lot of unknown to it. It feels on one hand like it's always been in our lives, and on the other hand, it has only been with us for 2.5 years. So I think we have moved into a period of A, people have gotten comfortable not going out, B, people really want to go out, and C, there's just a lot of uncertainty. So we're in, I think, from my perspective, I think we're actually in the hardest hurdle, because at the end of the day, if I've been in my office or if I've been on Zoom all day and I realize, oh, wow, I got to get dressed and go to this thing. I can't go in my sweatpants. Netflix is carrying a lot of weight for the arts sector. And so I think it's going to take us a while to rebuild our audience, rebuild the rhythm of remembering the true value of a live arts event and why people want to be at that. So I think we're in a little bit of a hard spot right now.
The industry is still grappling with how to hold performances that people will feel safe attending and performing at. She says it's a nearly impossible balance to get just right, and people will have to have some flexibility and grace with each other.
Unfortunately, COVID got very political. And so I think it's created a bit of a conflict that doesn't actually need to be there. But it's there. And so we have to deal with the reality of where it is. And so I think it's about just honoring people and really trying to create the safest space you can so that people can start to come back, and then figuring out what programming will make someone go, you know what, I got to get out of my sweatpants and go to this. Or, and I think this is important, go in your sweatpants. There's always this sort of bemoaning of, it used to be that when you went to the opera, you got dressed up and it was this beautiful, elegant affair. That's true. Guess what? The opera doesn't care what you're wearing. So if you want to go in sweatpants, I'll be really honest. In 2019, I was in Washington, D.C., and I went to see a production of Richard III in sweatpants, tennis shoes, sweatpants, and no makeup. That is unheard of for me. Nobody looked at me funny, and I enjoyed the production as much as I would have if I'd been dressed up. So don't let the comfort of sweatpants keep you from going to the arts. We need you to come back, and you might not know this, but you need it too.
Del Val says our community is changing as more people move here from around the country and around the world, and that will require the local art scene to make some changes as well. Some good changes.
We have been very traditionally based in Western art, primarily Western European art. So I think this is a real opportunity to dig deep, to make lasting, meaningful, intentional relationships with people in our community who haven't always felt an affinity for the arts or haven't always felt like they belonged, and that their country of origin, their experience in the world has not been represented. So I think it's actually an amazing opportunity. And I will say, we are going to need greater support to do that work, because relationship building takes time. You don't just walk up to someone and say, hey, suddenly we care about your part of the world. And then it just happens. It takes time, and it takes learning and listening and testing things out to see what sticks and what doesn't. So we are going to need to depend on our community to support the sector more than we ever have before. And if that happens, I think what will be produced in this community will be transformational. And the reason that is important is because this community, like most communities across the United States, is in a attraction and retention crisis. And so how might the arts be an active player in helping to solve that problem? This is one way.
If you'd like to learn more about the Arts Partnership, you can go online to theartspartnership.net. Coming up tomorrow night on the Nightly Review, Sean Doberstein, Executive Director of Hector International Airport, will be with me. We'll talk about the expansion project that could take Hector from 5 gates to 9. Plus, we'll talk about that pilot shortage and what it might mean to your future travel plans. That'll do it for this Thursday edition of the Nightly Review. I'm Steve Hallstrom in for Tom Tucker. Thanks for watching the Nightly Review, and I'll see you tomorrow night.